How are y'all doing? Today's live show on Green Card Guys TV, we're going to talk about how long do I need to stay married after green card has been received, has been issued. And this is typically for people. This question comes up in two scenarios. This is when you receive a conditional resident status, and also for other folks who receive a permanent resident status. Now, you might know this already, but just want to make sure for those that don't know, conditional resident status means for 2 years. Okay. Thanks for everyone that's joining. And the permanent resident status is for 10 years. All right. So now I believe I mentioned this yesterday. For you to receive the 2-year card, CR status is if you file for immigration benefit or for resident status within 2 years of marriage. Okay. Um, so if you waited already a long time, you already got married more than 2 years ago, and now you apply, then the result is a 10-year card. Okay. By the way, folks, if you have any questions, you're welcome to drop it down in the comment section. And let me see if I can point you in the right direction. Well, friends, welcome to Green Card Guys TV. I'm here to answer the question of the day. How long do I need to stay married after getting the green card approved application? Okay, so I mentioned this. This question comes up, fairly often because people wonder, you know, or, they say, we're having some arguments, pandemic. I have heard that because of the pandemic and, if both of you work at home, you might get on each other's nerves and you're just spending a lot more time with each other. So that's for that reason, that's why this question comes up more often. And so here's the deal, folks. You don't have to stay married, okay, for you to maintain residency and to eventually apply to become a US citizen. It is possible to get divorced, okay? Now, how fast can a divorce happen? That depends where you live, which state you live in, okay, or even which county. Some counties could be slower than others, but in Texas, legally, you can get divorced as soon as 60 days. Now, you might wonder, why is that even allowed? Like, is that possible? Absolutely. The government knows that. Not, as long as the law is that as long as you have entered the marriage, bona fide marriage, meaning legit, it's not fake, then you can get divorced and still maintain your status. Okay. So don't let the immigration process or the future prospect of becoming U.S. citizen or maintaining your residency be a reason for you to stay in the marriage. Now, I know like last week, every once in a while, I talk about VAWA when someone has been abused, whether physically or emotionally. Of course, for us, our core values, we really, of course, hope that this doesn't happen to you or you don't have to suffer any of this type of abuse. But we do know it happens. We get calls about this. I serve on the board of a nonprofit here in Houston, and there's not only are we receiving more calls in general, but the nonprofit, the domestic violence that helps domestic violence survivors, they are receiving a lot of calls too. So, which by the way, it's some cultures or a lot of cultures are hush hush about this stuff. The nonprofit I help on, they serve mostly South Asians. Okay, it could be from India, Pakistan. So if you happen to be of a South Asian ethnicity, please know that there's abuse also in your community because it's hush hush, right? So this organization was created, I think, I need to get my history right, at least 30 years ago. So that's how long that this has been more recognized. So every day we talk about this. Every day I talk about it, I feel more comfortable because I hope that others out here, you're watching the channel, that if you are in a situation where you can help someone else, even if it's to provide a hotline number, do an internet search for someone, lend your phone for like a couple minutes. I hope you're able to do that if you're in that situation. So yeah, So that's the main reason that this kind of question comes about. How long do I need to stay married after getting the green card approved? So what most of y'all know is that when you get the 2-year card, it's like you're almost there to become a citizen. But how our core values, our mission is that, essentially, uh, or even personal values, you should not stay in a marriage if there's abuse. You just got to get yourself out of that situation. Okay, create a safety plan. The organization I help out with is dayhouston.org. So if you're in the Houston area or a nearby county and you need some help, go to that website, Houston period org. All right, so check that out if you need assistance. Or maybe there's no abuse at all, but you just get fed up with your spouse, your significant other, or your partner, whatever you call your significant other. You just want to get out of the marriage. It is possible. Okay, you in terms of filing, even after you get the 2-year card. Okay, but this is what you need to do. Okay, to prepare yourself for the situation. The government, USCIS agency, wants to see evidence. Okay, at the time that you remove the conditions, they want to see evidence that you have maintained accounts together. For example, look, let's say you get this CR status, and the next week or the next month, you like take each other off the accounts. Yeah, the government's not probably gonna give you a hard time on that one. In that sense, then you have to think of other evidence. We call like secondary evidence, maybe letters from mutual friends, family members, to explain how you're in legitimate marriage, a real marriage together, bona fide. Are letters sufficient by itself? Um, it could be. It just depends who's writing it. Some people that you ask to write a letter may not be the best storyteller, right? Factual, real storyteller, of course, nothing fake, but has to be real information, truthful. But yeah, some people, and so that's part of what we help with on our team. We provide guidelines. We don't write the letter for your friend. We don't do that, but we look at the draft. We provide suggestions on how to organize it, for example, maybe to rephrase some words to make it easier for the immigration officer to read it. But we don't write the letter for you. We cannot do that. Okay, you tell your own story, but we help you organize it. Okay. Um, People asked, are pictures sufficient? Unfortunately, no. Pictures are not sufficient because, first of all, I don't think cameras not. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think cameras these days, when you print the picture out, will tell you the timestamp. Yeah, on your phone or whatever, or your actual bigger camera, DSLR, maybe it has a timestamp. Like if you touch the picture and you can see the date and time. But when you print it, it doesn't have that anymore. Not like the old school cameras, which was it Kodak, any of those older companies that are no longer existing. Maybe is Kodak existing? Let me know. By the way, let me know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy the content that how I share it, please smash the hearts and the like button on Facebook and YouTube. That shows me that this information is helpful to you, and of course, it helps the algorithm sharing the video to other people. All right, who may have a similar question like this. So the other thing you need to know is that if you are thinking about getting divorced, or at least physically not living together, you also need to know how long or when you can apply to become a citizen, because that's probably on your list, your bucket list, essentially. We've all been talking about bucket lists during the pandemic. So if you have a conditional resident status and want to become a U.S. citizen, well, whether or not you have CR or PR status, okay, you need to be married for at least 3 years in order to apply to become a citizen. Now, It does ask on the N-400 application, your spouse information. But when you apply to become a citizen, they don't ask for continue proof. That's not part of the instructions. Now, some officers, especially when you don't have a lawyer, some officers will take advantage of you and ask for marriage evidence when that is not required. So, but something like marriage certificate, a couple officers ask, we just have it handy in our folder, but that really doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove that even if you were divorced, that doesn't prove you were divorced. So it's just kind of confusing why a couple officers have asked for the marriage certificate when you have the naturalization interview. But whatever makes it easy. But we're not going to make it easy in the sense that if they're going to ask for XYZ document. That's where a lawyer is helpful. People ask us all the time, and we don't take offense to it. Some lawyers do. Why would it be advantageous to hire a lawyer? This is one example, especially at the interview. Okay, and that is, if the officer asks for documents or just ask questions in general that have no relevance to the actual application, then why, the officer's just trying to find a way to, if that happens to you, the officer's trying to find a way for you to disclose more information. We call it open-ended question. Kind of like, how's your day? You could answer it in so many different ways. I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm doing great. Oh, great. What'd you do today? So that's kind of how they do it for you to share more information. So that doesn't mean they ask in a friendly way, but that doesn't mean they're friends with you. So anyways, just you got to think about your pathway all the way to the end. If you want to become a U.S. citizen, then you have to know what it is. So because if you get divorced, then let's say you're at the 3-year mark and you're thinking to file for N-400, you can't file anymore. You got to wait until the 5th year. You can, hot tip right here, folks, you can file the N-400 application 90 days before the 3-year mark or the 5-year mark. So the 5-year mark is when you're no longer married. And this is, of course, if you got 3-year mark, you can file it if you are still married. But if you're no longer married, then you have to wait the 5-year mark. Okay. So hopefully that helps. That's just one of the things to consider. But I just think this is an important topic, especially folks that are, victims of abuse emotionally or physically. Okay. I hope that you find a way to create a safety plan or contact a local nonprofit organization. Of course, the larger cities like Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, San Francisco, all these larger, urban cities, they usually have these kind of nonprofits. For better or worse, unfortunately, people do get abused. So that's why these organizations exist. And by the way, try not to if you do contact these nonprofits, please don't give them a hard time. They're really trying, at least the ones I've been involved with, they really try to do their best. So because I've come to find out that unfortunately, because of the, what do you call it's kind of like how if you've been around certain friends, you start to talk like them. So, and of course, I'm not trying to blame anyone, but just be mindful that the people working in these nonprofit organizations are trying to help you. So just try not to be rude. Okay, they're trying to point you in the right direction, just like we are. Okay, with greencardguys.tv. If you can, we do have free 15-minute consultation. You can go to our website, check that out, and you click on Contact Us page. But and on that page, by the way, we do list, there's a new thing on our website. We do list the people that we do not want to schedule a free consultation. So we're just being upfront so you can save your time. Okay, because there's different scenarios where it may require like a memo situation. There's really no point for consultation in that situation. We will need documents. Like if you have criminal crimes and you want us to evaluate it, that's $2,500. And so, or if you want evaluation of your EB-5, you want to start your own business, that's $499 consultation fee. Okay, so because we want to know you're serious. All right, because anyways, so we do have a free guide in the meantime, because not everyone's going to be able to qualify. Once you take that free quiz or take that quiz for a free consultation, okay, our CARES team will look at it. The legal team looks at it as well to see if you can qualify for free 15 minutes. And if you don't, please take no offense. We just have limited time. I have a family. I have 2 little kids. My team has their own family. It's just we're trying our best to help people. And anyway, so one of the things we do is offer a free guide that may answer your question. Um, Hopefully it does. If it doesn't, let us know. We'll try to find the information for you. But that information that we find might not be in a consultation format. It could be. But another scenario that I want to share with you related to naturalization, okay? Actually, not naturalization, but for a DV, domestic violence survivor. The person, and I can share this with you because I'm not divulging the client's name, of course. Want to make sure you know that I'm, cognizant of the attorney-client confidentiality that every lawyer needs to abide. But by the way, disclaimer: any case results that we share with you is not a guarantee or promise of any future result for you. But what I can guarantee for y'all, because we do receive calls about people have bad, poor lawyer experience with other lawyers or even your current lawyer. And it's transparency. Number one, we're transparent with the documents, with the fees, and our process. We're transparent with your documents, your files. On day one, we share a Dropbox folder. On the quote, we share all the possible fees that could happen. Or if you pick the max plan, there's likely going to be no extra fees unless if you want us to go to your interview and you live in a city outside of Denver or Dallas, Houston, then of course we need this travel cost, right? Or we can co-counsel with another lawyer across the country. So we try to make it easy for you in that sense. But all the fees are laid out there on the document because we hear about that. Oh, my current lawyer keeps asking me for more money. Is it part of the contract? I'm like, no, they didn't know about it. So that's very unfortunate to hear. Or even when people ask for files, for their own files that their clients are entitled to their own documents, they're like, oh, this law firm's charging me $50 to $100 just to get a copy. I'm like, we don't even have to print anything. We just share a Dropbox link. This is like ridiculous. There's technology out there. So, so if you're looking for a lawyer, you're thinking like you want someone in person, I get it, but there's just some tips, okay? Ask them, will I get a copy of my file? Like, do I will have access on day one of hiring you? How soon will you file my case? Now, some lawyer, actually most, will probably take offense to that. Let me know what you think. Have you asked a lawyer before these kind of questions? I'm curious. I mean, I would be very happy for a lot of people. What I'm trying to do, folks, is not even increase, but just publicly establish to share with you what the legal standards should be for customer service. Because I've heard a lot of negative stories, and it's just very unfortunate. So, um, yeah, let me know. Okay, I'm very interested. I hope other lawyers watch this so they can learn because I've spoken at a conference before about stuff like this. It's not difficult. I mean, to provide you service and be transparent and be a commit to time to file. So if you pick the max plan with us, we file your case in 30 or 45 days, depending on the case type. Okay, so but as family-based case, typically it's 30 days under the max plan. So that kind of give you an idea. If you pick the pro plan, it's 60 days, but there's an optional fee to file it sooner. Okay, and I get it. The reason we do this, there's no obligation to do that, but the reason we offer that option is because people want to know when we're going to file the case. Because ultimately, if you're here for in the U.S. and you can adjust status, you're eligible to adjust status in America, then you're eligible to apply for a work permit. And that work permit allows you, for most states, I believe, the work permit allows you to apply for a driver license. Okay. And the work permit also allows you to get the social security number. Now, you may have been, some of y'all, maybe 1% of you, at least one person in the audience may have been working under a different social security number, like not under your name or a fake one. I highly encourage you to stop doing that. But if you have questions about that, please schedule a consultation, give us a call. Happy to point you in the right direction, give you some more guidance on that. Okay. Please know any information I share here, you need to always consult with a lawyer afterwards. Okay. Because with immigration, everyone's situation's slightly different. Okay. Can be similar, but still different at the same time. Let's see. Pella, nice to see you. Hello. Thanks for the hello. And if you have any questions, folks, we'll probably be gone for another 10 minutes or so. But here to answer any questions. I want to give a shout out to AB. Thanks for tuning in again. What's going on, Lati? Nice to see you again. Juan Moreno, nice to see you, buddy. Hometown Chef, nice to see you. I recognize some of y'all. If you've joined before and I don't recognize you, I'm sorry. I try to remember. Castillo, what's going on? All right, so let me know if you enjoyed the way I share content. Again, because I know a lot of lawyers out there, and we're trying to be more intentional in terms of sharing more tips. Because I do blabber a lot. I do have a lot of side tangents, just really information to share. So smash the love button or the heart button and the likes. And if you have a someone maybe a coworker, neighbor, that's considering to file an immigration case or they have an immigration problem, share a video, bookmark it, save it, share it, and hopefully one of our videos they can scroll around and find something that can help them. Okay. Hi, Alma. Nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in for a bit. She says she recommends John. Okay, that's me and our team. The best. Oh, you say a best immigration lawyer in Texas? I don't like to take that title, but I greatly appreciate your kind words, Alma. She's a former client and very very nice person, very lovely family, and so we want to help y'all, just like Alma's family, be able to, you or your spouse to live and work in America legally. Okay, you may have been working illegally without a work permit, but if you're married to a U.S. citizen or even a resident, we have a way to help you. Okay, so I've shared this before, but hot tip for those who have a spouse who's a resident, even though the visa bulletin shows current, most likely most people have the immigrant spouse has not maintained their status, meaning a non-immigrant visa status. So if you have not, typically is that you have to apply for a waiver after the petition's approved. And if that's the case, then you have to leave America after the waiver is approved. That's a key fact, key information there. Key tip, pro tip, okay? Because you don't want to leave for the interview before the waiver is even filed or approved. It's very important that the waiver is approved first, and then you can schedule the interview and then leave to your country. But most of y'all probably want to avoid all that, right? It's going to cost more money, attorney's fees. It's going to cost more money to the government. And just, of course, a lot of people are anxious and hesitating to leave, right? I get it. So to resolve that, number one, we got to make sure, did you enter America with a visa? And if you did, which, I'd say about 50% of our clients did enter with a visa. Then the second thing is, is your spouse who's a permanent resident willing to apply to become a citizen? Because if that's the case, if those two questions are a yes, then you want to have your spouse apply to become a U.S. citizen. And after he or she is approved, took the oath to become a citizen, has a certificate in hand, then we can file your marriage case. Okay. Here's the main reason why. When you're married to a spouse who's a U.S. citizen and you enter with a visa, legal entry, then you don't have to, number one, you don't have to leave the country, United States. And and because specifically legally, you can waive your unlawful presence. All right. So that's a very important thing. It can waive any unlawful working in the past. Those are really important information for you to know. If you have a spouse who's a resident and hesitating a little bit, like maybe, he or she understands English, but it's just a little hesitant about this civics and English. I don't want to call it a test, but USCIS calls it a test, but it's not. It's not many questions. We have a booklet that's 100, has I believe 100 questions. We have flashcards. We create our own course to help people to not hesitate to apply to become a U.S. citizen, because you could help so many of your family members, not just your spouse if you have one. All right, so hopefully that helps. Let me see if there's any questions on here. But the key takeaway here, folks, for the topic of the day: how long do I need to stay married after green card approved? And it depends what you're trying to accomplish. Number one, even if you're trying to accomplish becoming a U.S. citizen in the future, it can be as fast as 3 years. When you become a U.S. citizen or apply for that, they do not ask for proof of bona fide marriage. Okay, that's the good thing. However, if you have conditional resident status, you need to file a 751 application to remove those conditions. Okay, that's just what they call it. I kind of like to think of it as probation, I guess you can say, because you have to I don't want to say refile, but file a new, different application form. Okay. Pro tip: it's not the I-90. Okay, we've had some clients in the past file that on accident because, and I get it, it says renew or replace the green card, so it makes it think like, the government needs to be very clear. But of course, the government's not your lawyer. You don't have to hire a lawyer, but it helps to consult with one. And so that's why we're here on YouTube and all these channels, to help share these little tidbits of tips. Samira, I see your question. Thank you so much. Let's see here. Let's see here. It says, Samira says, hi, waiting on your asylum interview for 4 years. You did not receive any notice about your case. Meanwhile, you're going to marry a U.S. citizen. How long will the process take for your case, the two different cases? Okay. So Samira, let me know if you entered with a visa or not. That would give me a better idea. I can explain both processes anyway. But in terms of asylum interview for 4 years, 4 years is typically the minimum that we would need to see in the facts to be able to file a lawsuit. So, but because you're getting married to a U.S. citizen, and you're telling the truth, you told the truth on your asylum application, but even, of course, you have to be credible. That's what we call in the legal world, like you're telling truth. So the asylum officers will determine that, right? If you're telling the truth or not. And even when you tell the truth, your asylum claim, unfortunately, might not meet the legal standard for asylum to win asylum here. So after you speak with the asylum lawyer, if you think your chances are not as strong, I definitely don't condone withdrawing the application, but I just share this because some people are a little hesitant on the spouse filing, with their spouse for whatever reason. Then that's why I mentioned that. So, if that's the case, if you're a little shaky on filing with the spouse and you think you have a strong case, based on what an asylum attorney has shared with you, then what's it called? Then you can file a lawsuit. Okay. So, yes, with a visa. So kind of similar to Badger, I'm going to get to your question right here. What happened next after the court adjudicate a foul mandamus case for delayed asylum interview? What happens? Okay, yeah. What happens next after the court adjudicate a foul? Okay, I see what you're saying. What's the next step? I think you're probably talking about your own case. So after a case is filed, the U.S. attorney that represents the government agencies, they have 60 days to file an answer. Okay. So let me pull up your case. 60 days, right? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. So it's 60 days to file an answer, but they typically don't file an answer. And the reason why is because, probably a couple reasons. Number one, because they understand that generally we can get the result. They can help us negotiate in the sense to get the result that you need. So in Badru's situation, for example, or maybe even Samira, it's getting the freaking interview. Like, why does the interview take so long? I get it. President Trump changed the way the policy. There was already a backlog by the time President Trump changed the policy to last in, first out. I can understand why they did that, but the people like Badru or Samir have been waiting so long. They've been affected by this change in policy. So we have in our system, I just pulled it up, Badru, for example, is that we filed your case November 7th. We were able to mail it out November 11th, and 60 days is coming up. That's January 20th. Okay. So we have, I'm sharing all this and Badru, because it's very important for people to know that we really try to be as organized as possible. So I can quickly just do what I just did now and know the timeline. Okay. And so what to expect at the 60th day is the case should have a U.S. attorney assigned to it, because the 60-day deadline for the answer is supposed to propel them to say, okay, shoot, I need to get on the case. I need to talk to an attorney, right? So, of course, you might be wondering, okay, well, what happens if they don't file an answer? Because that's typically a situation we want to get the result for you without having them file an answer. So sometimes after an attorney is assigned to it, we already start thinking about the game plan in the future. Is that in some scenarios, not for everyone, but for most people, we agree to an extension of the answer. And really what that does is that gives them another at least 30 to 60 days. You know, for the most part, it's usually less than 60 days, way less than 60 days, but usually 30 to 60 days for them to contact, like usually they contact let's say the consulate or the USCIS asylum office or the field office, usually the same day. They put out the request. They say, hey, what the hell's going on with this case? Give me an update because I need to know for the lawsuit, right? And share with the attorney, the private attorney, like our law firm. But the thing is, they might not get a response that quickly. But typically, they get a response in 24 hours. But I can't promise for you or anyone that it'll be that quick. Okay. I wish it was like, file lawsuit, okay, get the response the next day. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Number one, they just have a lot of cases, especially in Washington, D.C., because there are some law firms that want to file their own. Like I have certification in Washington, D.C. court, but it's not just me guessing. Like I've heard from other colleagues, like it's not a good idea to file in DC if you can help it, because they have so many cases. And they have so many cases because not every law firm or attorney wants to get the extra certification in where you live. So we don't mess around with that crap, okay? We don't want to mess with DC if we can help it. If you are in the US and you have an address here, or your business is in the US, you have an address in that sense, office address, then we can file on behalf of your company, like E2 application, for example. So because we'd rather file in outside of Washington, D.C. We usually get the result much sooner in that sense. Okay, so it's just a lot of logistics, I guess you could say, on that. But hopefully I kind of give you an idea of estimated step-by-step. Now, back to Samir. Thank you, Badger, for the question. Back to Samira. You mentioned for your other option is you're going to get married to a U.S. citizen, and you enter with a visa. So great. That's wonderful. That means you enter with a visa, most recent entry, then you can file all the forms related to adjustment of status. Okay, that's great to hear for you, Samira. So if you and your spouse go through this process, then you wouldn't have to file a mandamus lawsuit for your asylum application, but just make sure that this person is the right match. Okay, I know it's not an easy decision. So because a lot of people have called us and say, John, we got a denial or we got a notice of intent to deny, and kind of find out once we start digging more information, we start asking more follow-up questions, and some people have eventually disclosed, oh yeah, I'm not living together with that person. Yeah, and some people have mentioned, Yeah, we got married like let's just say January 1st, but then got separated June 1st. Yeah, that's not going to look too good for your case. Okay, you need a lot more evidence in that kind of scenario. So that's why you really it's not easy to find the right match. I acknowledge that, but you know, immigration's a hot topic. You just don't want to file a case, spend all that money, and then kind of find out this person backs out, right? In general, of the marriage in general. So I wish you all the best in that sense. But Samira, back to your question in terms of the timeline. Sorry, just get so excited to share all these other tips. But back to the timeline. Where are you at, by the way, Samira? Which city in America or state? But typically, it's minimum 12 months. Now, I just talked about yesterday that USCIS has authority. It's nothing new. They've always had the authority to waive the interview for a marriage-based case, along with other case types, but including employment. Okay, but for marriage-based, you don't want to mess around. Okay, don't just provide the minimal evidence at all. Don't forget to provide the medical exam. Okay, Samira. So I-693 medical form. So hopefully that helps. I mean, it just depends. Even if the processing time says 12 months, 18 months, I would just say on average, minimum 12 months to give you an idea. Now, if it's been 18 months plus and for a marriage case and you're married to a US citizen, you need to call us because that's taking too long. Okay. Also, if you have a waiver application on file, when I checked about 2 weeks ago, the waiver application processing times, there's two processing centers. If I can recall, I think Nebraska and the Potomac Process Server Center. At that time, it was like 34 and 38 months. That's ridiculous. That's what is that, 3 to 4 years? Before the pandemic, it took on average 8 months for our cases. So it should not take that long. Okay, I get it. They probably don't have USCIS probably doesn't have as many people working, but they got to find a faster way because you're waiting for the interview. Okay, abroad if you applied for the waiver. So, anyways, hopefully that helps. And yeah, Samir, again, I believe I mentioned, but if you file for the marriage-based case, you don't want to you don't want to withdraw your asylum application just because you filed your. So it just depends on timing. I just wouldn't withdraw it yet. Okay. Sorry, I just now looking at. I see. I'm scrolling backwards. I guess you can say. Dia Rojas, are you looking for a paralegal or legal assistance? I'm interested in learning more about immigration law. You have prior law experience. That's great. We're always looking to build a team. That's part of my job as a the top person, the jefe. So we're always looking to build a team. So you can apply. I'll let y'all know when the career page is up. But if you message us somehow or text us, we'll get you the information. Okay, we do have a long process. Okay, just to let you know, it's not easy to apply with our team. As you can imagine, we're very strict because we especially when we share content here, and when we commit to some timelines like the max plan, 30 days, we need team members to be able to execute that, right? To be accountable. So I'm not saying that you are or not, but just to kind of give you an idea on the qualities that we look for. Okay, because I can't be promising these timing to file, but then we don't get that done. uh, Ali Lee Grand, any immigration plan ahead? We are all tired of being lied to in this freaking United States of America. I completely agree with you, Ali Lee Grand. It's annoying. Politics in America can be confusing because, especially when Democrats or even if it's Republicans say they're gonna do one thing or another. Um, Unfortunately, the way politics works, you probably know this already. You need a majority. So even though Democrats have control of the Senate now, finally, but the House flipped to Republican control. So yeah, it's just even the House can't even figure out the House Speaker. So if they can't figure out who the House Speaker is going to be, that delays a lot of things. That delays even the new newly elected people from even taking the oath to serve in their seat. It's just ridiculous. They got to get that taken care of. By the way, if you're just joining now, we do offer free 15 minutes so you can unlock those, unlock a free consultation. But you got to take a quiz on our website. It's really just a couple questions, okay, folks, to see if we can point you in the right direction to learn more about your case. So you don't have to stay on the phone for like 30 minutes for our team to ask you these questions. Yeah, so I spoke with many of y'all who are waiting for immigration form. We'll definitely share a video about it when I believe it's more substantive. Like I don't want to. I'll probably do like a quick overview of any possible bills that have been filed by the end of January. But yeah, and I know there's some folks, some lawyers out there that share every single proposed bill, and that kind of like makes it seem like there's making progress on that. It's just a bunch of BS. Okay, that's what I share on YouTube and Facebook. The Congress.gov, so I can share how many people have co-sponsors, or if there's any from the other party. Because if it's all one party and they don't have control of that, like the House, then it's likely not going to go anywhere. You need some people on the other side so they can get some traction. So anyways, I'm not doing this for the views. Some people do. So I'm just here to share key tips, pro tips, share my JT's take, my thoughts on how to help you solve your immigration problem or even prevent it from happening in the first place. Because believe it or not, if you don't know anything about immigration, there's a crap ton of problems. Okay. So that's actually one thing we're going to try to do on our website is list out the common problems. If you go to our website right now, I'm pretty proud of my team for doing this. And let me see if I can share it. Okay. Well, shoot, I need to figure something out. Well, you can't go to the website right now. It was just working 30 minutes ago. I guess we're just updating it so much and it shows error. Uh-oh. So just a heads up there if you're trying to take a quiz on there, something's going on with the website. I was just about to share, but anyway, we do list out a couple problems there, but we're going to probably the next couple of weeks we're going to list out even more common problems. So you can click the drop down list and it'll take you straight to the information you need to know. So that can save you time. Okay. Especially if one example, like where you probably don't need a consultation that we do have a free guide is if you're stuck outside the US and you are a resident, but you already know that if you've been outside for more than 6 months to a year, or even more than a year, and you come fly into America, there is a likelihood the customs officer will say, you've been outside the US too long. What was the reason? Blah, blah. So the first option is SB1. So we have a guide about how to maintain your status to keep that in mind. Which pro tip, the reasoning of having a job force you to be outside the US is not a good reason. Okay. It's not a good reason and that's why I want to share right now proactively. If you have a job that wants you to work abroad, and it's probably a cool job because you get to work abroad, I guess, but you need to apply for a re-entry permit. It's valid for 2 years. This after you have the green card approved. Okay. Now I get it. If it's a pandemic type reason, you have a family member in your country that you're helping out, of course, caring for them, then I get it. That's a different reason. They might acknowledge that. They might not, because I've heard of some people have the SB1 application denied. So, anyways, just want to share quick tips on that. And I know there's other folks that asked some questions. Sorry, I didn't get to it yet. Esther Kumi, you asked the question of how long will it take to get your green card when you're married to a citizen? Oh, I think you just entered the show because I answered that earlier. Happy to answer it again. Let's say you file today and you also entered with a visa, Esther, then typically 12 months, okay, until the interview. It could take longer, could be less time. You could be lucky. Maybe they waive your interview completely, but you need to have everything, all your ducks in a row. everything in that initial package. Because if you're missing something that is typically what USCIS is looking for, then you're going to likely have an interview. So if you want that opportunity, so that's what the Biden administration has announced, that they're going to try to waive more interviews. They've always had this authority. All right. This is in the USCIS policy manual. Now, I believe there's at least another question about prima facie determination. Now, in that sense, what is it? Okay. You want to know what's the point of all this? And number one, it basically means that they've received the application. All right. And you have, legally speaking, this is what we mean by, like, even when we go to court, for example, the judge or even the government lawyer wants to know, are you eligible for it? It's basically, that's what I was asking. Do you have a decent amount of evidence just to show that you have prima facie, you have met the basic requirements? Okay. Because if you don't, then, for the most part, most people have it. Like if you file, especially if you file with a nonprofit or a law firm, then you will receive this letter. Now, what's the point of it, right? Does it mean anything to you? This does not mean they reviewed everything, okay? Because these cases take a long time, unfortunately. Okay. Now, it doesn't come with any benefits. For example, like you can't necessarily just get a work permit or something like that. Now, if your abuser was a U.S. citizen, then yes, you can file a 485 application for adjustment and also the work permit. But this is just a general statement. Not everyone can apply for a work permit at the same time. So it's not related to the prima facie determination. Okay. It's just kind of misleading, I believe, to be honest, because it's just like checking online, the case status. Some people like receive after 3 months. Some people have seen in queue for interview. That's very misleading. That doesn't mean you're going to get the interview like next month. It's just saying like they've done the preliminary. I think that was what it means. They've done the preliminary review. Who the hell knows what the case status means, honestly? Because the ones that are very direct are like, okay, we received your RFE response. That's helpful. When they receive that typically means they're literally reviewing your case, because they're ready to give you a decision, like wait for interview or set it up for interview. Okay. So that kind of give you an idea, because we received approvals, typically like H-1B, the business on the employment side, H-1B, because they don't have interviews. They don't schedule for interviews for that in America. Abroad, yes, because when you pick up the visa stamp, that's when they interview you in that sense. So hopefully that answers that question. I don't know. Some states I've heard, you could get a benefit through the state, maybe with that letter, prima facie letter, but it doesn't automatically come with any benefits, if that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, Sheldon, happy to help. You said that thanks for always informing us with informative information. Yeah, this is just a crap ton of information to share. So happy to do that. Esther, hopefully I answered your question, or that you were on when I answered it. I thought there was one more. Okay, well, folks, that might cover it. So if you didn't know this, whenever the website does work, greencardguys.com, you can download a free guide, and it has answers to common questions and an estimated step-by-step. Now, it might not contain the specific case type or immigration pathway that you're seeking. And if not, then contact us. Give us a call. Don't be shy. We don't bite. We're just here to solve immigration problems or prevent it from happening in the first place. Okay, folks, thank you so much. And I wish you the best and have a wonderful day. Take care.